Everyone, how's it going? Hope you've had a great week. Back in with another video this week. And this week, I just wanted to share about a little experience I had this past weekend. I was actually out in the White Mountains here in New Hampshire for a little weekend getaway with my wife. My wife has the great goal of hiking all 4,000 foot tall plus mountains in New Hampshire, which there are 48 of them. So she's done, I think, over 20 of them at this point. But we had managed to get a weekend away, just two of us, and we were up in the White Mountains, which is one of our favorite spots to be in New Hampshire. And we decided that on Saturday we would tick off another 4,000 footer from her list and do a hike while I was there with her. It was a great time. Ended up being the total hike distance was a little over 12 and a half miles. We obviously covered over 4,000 feet of elevation gain. The weather was beautiful at some points. It was in the clouds at some points, windy and cold. The terrain ranged from forest to wet and soggy to hiking basically on top of a riverbed, or just hiking on top of rocks. We were in the alpine zone, so it was just little coverage trees, and there were no trees, just grass around. We saw some great views when the clouds weren't on top of us. We're just kind of heading into what I would call peak fall season here in New Hampshire. There was some good color in the mountains and the trees and stuff like that. So we saw some great views as well. It was a tough hike. It was definitely a tough one, especially because actually most of the elevation gain, the 4,000 feet that we gained in the course of the hike, was done in the first 3 miles. So nearly all of it was done in the first 3 miles, and then the rest of it was just leveling out and eventually started to go back down. So for the 9 miles plus that we hiked after that, it was mostly either downhill or just flat. And it was hard. Those first 3 miles were difficult for sure. But I'm always impressed when I challenged in this way physically, because it just reminds me how far I've come in my fitness. And to think that the day before I went on this pretty long, intense hike, I was deadlifting more than double my body weight, I think it was 310 pounds, and I was doing it for 12 reps for 3 sets, which is nothing to just shrug your shoulders. I mean, it's not massive weight, but lifting more than double my body weight for 12 reps, I mean, that's a lot. And anyone should be proud of that. And I was reflecting as we were hiking along, I was like, I'm going through this hike. It's not terribly, I don't feel terribly winded. I think my average heart rate for the entire hike was around, I think, just around 100 beats per minute. So my aerobic fitness is pretty good. And that includes those steep inclines on those first 3 miles. So I didn't peak over 120 beats per minute, I think, the entire hike for my heart rate, which is pretty good for intensity like that. I'm pretty happy with that. Like I said, my average heart rate for the entire hike was around 100 beats per minute. I never felt fatigued during the hike. My legs felt really strong, even though, like I said, I had deadlifted. I had done a 90-minute strength training workout the day before, and then got up the next day and went on this 12 and a half plus mile hike, 4,000 feet of elevation gain. And felt pretty good during the entire thing. And it just reminds me of, if you really try, you can have a pretty well-rounded fitness baseline that is far exceeds your average individual. It can put everyone else to pretty much to shame. And doesn't require you to do a whole heck of a lot. I don't do anything particularly extraordinary in terms of working out. I probably put in, on average, hour and a half or so a day for 6 days out of the week. And so that's my workout routine. And I follow what I preach. I do, a fair amount of strength training. And I do a fair amount of cardiovascular work. Most of my cardiovascular work is low and slow and easy stuff. I walk a lot. I get 15,000 steps a day, at least, most days. And then I do some dedicated zone 2 work. I like to run. So I'll get in a day of running, and then I do some high intensity stuff on the Concept 2 rower, some kind of interval session once a week. And so that's my routine. And I just follow that pretty much, that general outline is pretty much my, how things work for the entire year. And then as I, might, have competitions or something like that, I might switch things up just to focus more on the competition that might be coming up. But for the most part, that kind of sticks 365 days a year. And if you follow something like that, where you incorporate a little bit of aerobic work, a little bit of strength work, and you do a lot of low, easy movement, your fitness level is going to be incredibly high compared to the average person. And I'm not saying that it would be easy for you to go out and do a hike like I did, but you could do a moderate hike. You could easily hike maybe half the distance without an issue. Are you going to do it in like record time? No. Might you be sore the next day? Sure. But you could do it, right? And that's what I think is important, because I never have to say no to anything. Like I never have to say no. Oh, I can't go hike. I can't do this hike because it's too long. My wife, it's going to be a pretty long hike. But I'm like, okay, I'll deal with it. She was actually thinking of even longer hikes, 17 miles or something like that. And I was like, okay, well, that's what you want to do. Like, I want to be there for the hardest ones with you to make sure you have someone with you. I didn't blink an eye on it because I have confidence in the fact that I know that my fitness is well-rounded enough that I could get through it without an issue. And like I said, I'm not saying that I'd be the fastest or that I'm not going to be sore or it's not going to be hard, but I have to get through it. I knew that. And so keeping that level of fitness allows me to experience things because I never have to say no or I can't do these things. I remember the primary example of this was a few years back. I had the opportunity to go to Barcelona and speak at a conference, and the organizer of the conference usually organized some kind of something to do for the speakers. It's a pretty cool conference. And this year was a bike ride in wine country of Barcelona. There was two different versions. There was a short 10-mile version and there was the long 30-mile. And I'm like, well, I'm not really like a biker. Like I don't bike. I rarely ever bike, honestly. I know how to ride a bike, but I don't bike for exercise or anything like that. And so I was concerned about the 30-mile version, but I said yes to it because like, when else am I going to get the opportunity to go bike through wine country in Barcelona? And I'm glad I did because one, it was an amazing experience, but two, like I didn't have a problem doing it. I had more of a problem learning how to use the road bike than I did actually doing the biking. And so that was great. But to have the physical capabilities to go off and do that when I didn't train for it. I don't bike. Like I literally don't get on a bike. And like I said, it doesn't take much. You just have to plan it out. Like you have to do this well-rounded approach. Now, if you want to specialize, like you love ultra distance running, sure, you're not going to be able to fit in the strength training to make you capable at certain strength feats. Or if you love lifting and you hate cardio and you just do cardio, just the bare minimum to get by, then yeah, maybe going for a very long hike is not going to be so pleasant for you. You might not be able to do it. You might actually need to spend some time ramping up your cardiovascular fitness before you do something like that. But if you enjoy doing these various different types of modalities and training, incorporating, sprinkling them in throughout your training program, you can pretty much say yes to any kind of physical activity that you might have to do. And that just opens up life more. You can have more experiences. You don't have to say no when your kids or your grandkids ask you to do something physical. You don't need to say no if they want you to come for their walk through the woods or play a sport or go ride a bike for a long period of time or do this fun run that they have coming up or anything like that. You don't have to say no to that stuff. And you can say yes to adventures. And the adventures are what really the best thing. And I think I was more proud of just being able to accompany my wife in a small part towards her goal and being there for that and not being stuck at home saying, well, I just don't have the physical capability to do that. Like that means more to me than any medal I might win in a competition or place I might finish because I get to experience life at its fullest, honestly. I thought that was just a cool message I wanted to relay to people. Oftentimes we don't think about fitness and exercise in terms of life experiences. We think about it in terms of aesthetics or looking good on Instagram or being able to say that you can lift this much weight or anything like that. And I think fitness really opens up life to more than just those other things. And not to say those other things aren't cool, because I also like those other things, but when you start to compare them to these life experiences that you can have because you are physically fit, it just, it pales in comparison. I thought that was a cool message, something I was thinking about as I was hiking along, and I want to make that a topic of conversation. So if you have any questions or comments or similar experiences that you'd like to share in with me, please leave them in the comment section below. As always, if you want to keep up with all the content that I put out related to how to become more physically fit and how to have these experiences and get to this point, I put out a ton of free content to help you get to that point in your fitness. And the best way to keep up with all that content is to sign up for my newsletter. So if you go to rjbhealth.coach, click on the newsletter tab at the top and enter your email address, you can sign up for the newsletter, and that's where you can get all that content from. And if you are looking for some help getting there, getting to the point where you have that physical fitness, I have two options for you, actually. One is a short-term option. So I'm currently just opened up enrollment for my fall group coaching program. That's going to close down on the 29th. So if you're watching this video before the 29th and you are interested in that, please let me know. You can just message me or shoot me an email or something like that, or leave a comment below, and I will get you the information you need to sign up for that. Or if you want more personalized support, long-term support, I do offer one-on-one coaching. I do have a couple spots available. So for that, you'll go to my website at rjbhealth.coach, click on the scheduled discovery call button on the homepage, and fill out the form there, and I'll get back to you and we can talk a little bit more about one-on-one coaching. That's what you're looking for. So with that, I hope everyone has a great weekend.